Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Again, I'm Mary. I'm the Dean of Admission, and we are joined with some community partners. I'm going to ask each person to introduce themselves.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us. My name is Sarah Kirk, and I wear a lot of different hats at the institution, so I'm going to kind of run through them just in case you have questions that relate to any of them. I started my career here as a professor of chemistry, and I still embody that. But in addition to that, for the last 5 years, I've been the Associate Dean of Faculty Development, which means I do work with faculty in supporting their teaching, scholarship, and service to the institution. And most recently, I took on the role of the Director of the First Year Experience, which I'll talk to you a little bit about later, but it's been a very exciting opportunity to bring together the best of so many things that we do into one really holistic package for our students.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Don Thompson. I am the director of Bishop Wellness Center, which is our student health and counseling center on campus. And I can go into sort of how we support students and intersect with sort of the first year experience in particular after we get through some introductions.
Good morning. I'm Rob Passage. I'm the director of athletics here at Willamette, and I supervise our currently 19 sports. We are adding women's triathlon in the next year to get us up to 20. I can also answer questions a little bit about campus recreation and intramurals as well.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Lisa Holliday. I'm Associate Dean of Students and Director of Student Activities. I'm responsible for overseeing student activities, campus recreation, and community service learning. And then part of my student activities roles, I oversee new student orientation as well as our pre-orientation programs called Jumpstart.
So I have had the distinct pleasure of actually working with everyone up here on really thinking holistically, what does it mean to support our students as they transition to college? And I think one important thing that we've done for a number of years and we want to highlight is when students first get on campus, after they unpack, they head straight to class. So we run our co-curricular, our student support, both inside the classroom and outside the classroom, simultaneously in terms of their orientation. So Lisa will tell you more about opening days and the ways in which we support really that community building aspect. And I'll kind of talk a little bit about how the academics weave into that. So all students that are first year students live in a common first year living area. So all of our students cohabitate in that space, and they're also arranged by their college colloquium. College colloquium is their first academic class. It has fewer than 15 students. 15 is the most that we would put in there. It's taught by a long-term faculty member, and in addition to that, there is a junior or senior level student that is embedded tutor in that class, and they serve as both the academic and the really peer guide, both inside and outside the classroom to support students. Lisa will tell you more about another aspect of student support. And then we have residence assistants as well, who are living with our students. And so this provides our first year students with an experience both in terms of their curricular and co-curricular, but it also gives them opportunity to meet several students who are more experienced on campus who can serve really as a support to them as well. In addition to that, each colloquium is also partnered with a campus partner. So Rob's been an example of a campus partner. So if we think about each set of 14 to 15 students has a faculty member, has a junior or senior level student, and has a campus partner who is working with them. Because we know students connect with different people in different ways. We want to give them multiple points of contact. So in addition to their 3-hour-a-week class, which is focused on critical thinking, focused on how does one be a part of the academy and embody themselves as an academic, how does one write like an academic and think creatively and do quantitative work. We also have what we call the 4th hour programming, and Dawn has helped quite a bit with that. The 4th hour is focused on 3 different areas. It's on academic preparation, it's on a sense of wellness, holistically, what does that mean? And a sense of building community and embracing difference and others. And so the juniors or seniors are with the students in their colloquium, are also with them in the 4th hour in addition to the community partner. And then the content is developed by our campus experts, such as Dawn. So we've got the living piece, we've got the in-class piece, and then we have the co-curricular piece as well, which I'm going to actually hand off to Lisa to talk more about that.
We offer a 5-day orientation program for new students, and we call it Opening Days. The acronym is OD, so I don't want anyone to be concerned when they hear people talking about OD, because it just means New Student Orientation. It's 5 days before the beginning of classes in the fall semester. The first 2 days, we also offer programming for interested parent and family members. And the college colloquium sections, like Sarah mentioned, are also their opening days groups. And so they also have 2 opening days leaders who are returning students, and they are responsible for guiding the new students through these 5 days of opening days. So in addition to attending their college colloquium course, we have 2 main goals. We're trying to help them build relationships, build a community, and we are also helping them identify key campus resources so that they not only know about the resources, but they feel comfortable accessing them. And those are our 2 overall goals. We throw in a lot of social programming to help with the first goal. We do some educational programming and really emphasize campus resources to achieve our second goal. Our hope is at the end of those 5 days, we've given them a really good foundation between the work they're doing in the classroom and what we're providing during opening days, that they're ready to start fall semester prepared and feeling relatively confident.
A lot of what we do here is our athletes are student athletes, and so they're involved in all the same programming. We don't do a lot of things on top of that because the core that the university provides is so fantastic. But I think there is another level with our coaches and with the teammates. For student athletes that come in as a first year, you automatically have coaches that are now trying to help you navigate questions and help you, how you're adapting to your college experience. And you also have an automatic group of teammates. You have juniors and seniors. There's one in each one of your colloquia, but now you have maybe, depending on the size of the team, 15 to 20 upperclassmen that are there that can say, hey, this is how it was for me 2-3 years ago. And it's a very supportive environment. I would also say, as we talk about the move to the first year commons a couple of years ago, it's been fantastic to have the first years together in the same residence area. It allows for the same type of programming, so you're not trying to come up with programming that, how do I do a program that a first year and a junior will like? Very challenging. So it's specific to the first year. Don's shop is also in that space, so Bishop Wellness, our health and counseling center, is within that residence area. So there's I wasn't sure where it was. It is right next door to you. It is like you walk by it every day. So there's been a lot of I thought we were very good with support. I think with things we've even done the last couple of years, it's even been better.
Also right in that area is our accessible education and academic success hub. So we make sure, as Rob was saying, that students, they can't avoid the support services that are available to them. And I think that is really key as they're trying to transition and they're a little uncomfortable navigating all of these things. We try to make it as easy as possible for them to, they visibly see it. It's right in front of them daily as they're walking to the classrooms. And that takes the stigma away of having to go somewhere else to seek help for any academic support that they may need.
So the other thing we should add about that is that Gretchen Moon, who's the Associate Dean for Student Success, she works with a set of students and trains them. So each student who comes to Willamette has a personal touch, as in someone calls as they're putting their schedule together. So they're not left to their own devices to think about what classes should I take, but very intentional advising before students ever arrive on campus. And Lisa's OD leaders are reaching out to students over this summer. My colloquium associates are reaching out to students over the summer, and so are faculty. So there's multiple points of contact even before students step foot on campus to say, welcome to our community. We want you to feel a part of this, and we want you to feel supported in this transition.
We are fortunate to have a lot of leadership opportunities for students on campus, and we've intentionally designed it that way. You will hear the terms a lot of that is a student-run program or that's a student-run event. And our students really enjoy that opportunity as well. So not only is it something that they want, it's also something that really benefits them. And so we have lots of opportunities for students to start their own student organization or start their own initiative, whether it be in their residence hall or in another type of community. We do have over 100 student organizations on campus, and they range from social support groups to academic honoraries. We offer sport clubs, lots of recreational opportunities. So the list kind of goes on and on of opportunities that are available to our students. And again, it's really a student-driven model where if a student doesn't see a student organization or an opportunity that interests them, we make it easy for them to be able to create those opportunities and have some ownership in that process.
So you may be aware, we're sort of in the middle of managing sort of a COVID-19 thing globally and nationally, regionally, all those things. So we have long had really good relationships with, so you're sitting in Marion County, Oregon, with Marion County Health and Human Services, the health department. They called me yesterday. The director there called me and said, hey, listen, we're trying to get some services up and running, we're trying to get a phone bank. We need a bunch of volunteers. I know Willamette just started a public health program this year. Is there any opportunity for students to help out? I said, oh my goodness, send me an email, I'll connect you to the right people. I connected the director of the Marion County to our 2 faculty in charge of our public health program, who then last night sent out an email to all of the public health students that said, hey, listen, here's this wonderful opportunity to have meaning in a time of relative sort of anxiety and chaos, and here's an actual tangible thing you can do. Here's this person's email, here's the person to get set up for your training. That happened in like 12 hours yesterday. And so here's a really fantastic opportunity. I'm going back to Mary's question. That's what makes Willamette special. That. I have contact with regional leaders that connect with faculty who are super connected to students, who automatically lean into service opportunities to give back and make meaning in a trying time. That, to me, is what makes Willamette special.
Yeah, so our students have opportunities both on campus. We talked about there's a number of leadership roles, but in addition to this experience, we have students working over at the Capitol, at the hospital as well, developing their leadership skills. The great thing about Willamette is if you send a Willamette student out, they always call back and say, do you have more of those? We prepare them well to go out and represent. And then the other thing I will say is we have a lot of opportunities for students to develop their own types of leadership as well. So the College Colloquium, we have a grant that's very special because it's only first-year students can apply for it. It's called the College Colloquium Grant. So I teach my colloquiums on access to medical care. Last year, my student took the class and was inspired, wrote a grant, and then went to the Netherlands to study how they were handling immigrant populations and medical care. So it was fully paid for. She wrote the grant. I helped mentor her on it. And so this was a life-changing event for her as well. In preparing for this, she decided to take an anthropology class so that she would learn how to ask the right types of questions. She worked with career services to connect with alumni who were in the Netherlands because she needed to find a place to live. She met with volunteer organizations there. She created her presentation, brought it back and shared it with other students, inspired another student who's now applied and will be going to Costa Rica to do a medical. So our students are leading on campus, they're leading in our community, and they are learning how to lead in our world. So it's very exciting to ride the coattails of these students, to be honest with you, to watch the amazing things they're doing and to feel just a part of that.
There's no limit to counseling. It is free. It is confidential. We offer sort of a buffet of services. We have same-day walk-ins every single day. We have regular ongoing counseling appointments. We have intakes. We have crisis appointments. We have a 24/7 hotline paid for by Willamette, just for Willamette students, so students can access support in the moment, 24/7, day or night. We have our Mind Spa, which is a relaxation room that we have in our office, which is a fully reclining leather massage chair and a full spectrum light and a little biofeedback machine. We also offer in crunch time, this is sort of a comparatively new thing that we've been offering. So the narrative nationally, of course, is the college, or mental health in colleges is overwhelming the systems, right? And so we've really been challenged to adapt to meet those needs. One of the ways that we've done that, in the last several weeks of every semester, we moved to what we call our same-day appointment model. And basically that essentially is clearing the schedule from regular appointments, because we know that as the semester goes on, not only was that the time where we were running out of appointments because we were full, but it was also the time where students were experiencing a lot more of the academic pressures and needed the support. So that was a difficult sort of intersection of competing realities. So what we've done is we've moved to a same-day appointment model, which basically says, we'll see you the day you need to be seen. So like I walked in this morning, schedule's pretty much clear. We have a couple of folks in there that we want to make sure that they have that time. But generally the schedule was clear. Phone starts ringing, we'll see you that day. That's how that works. And again, it's free, there's no session limit. I've got 5 full-time licensed clinicians in my office, so we're comparatively well-staffed there.
We should also say we've been working very hard to be as proactive as possible with our students. Coming to college is a stressful transition for many students. And so we've really been trying to work and build into this 4th hour and working with Dawn. What are the ways we can equip students to help themselves as well? There are students who absolutely need professional help, but there's also students who start to feel some anxiety and stress that they can manage on their own or with support of peers and other resources. So we try and think proactively, how do we help students, equip them well to handle these transitions that occur so that those who really need the more professional help can get that.
As you may know, if your student is 18, there's an important transition that happens at that point as it relates to their health care, right? They become the owner of their own health care records. So there are sort of 2 sort of overarching guidelines that operate and cover our records on campus. The first is called FERPA, Family Educational Right to Privacy Act. Okay? That is for all academic records. And then you have the records in my office, which are the health and counseling records, which are protected, so think HIPAA, right? Think when you go to your physician, that's it. My records in my office, I do not share with anybody else. Now, the question I get from families all the time is, okay, but when are you gonna call me, right? And I think that that's sort of the question. So let me reassure you, in both HIPAA and FERPA, there are very, very clear thresholds when we can call you. I will reassure the parents. If it's an emergency, you'll get the call. You'll get the call. I will say we work with students all the time and who are experiencing a lot of things. Overwhelmingly, when it gets to the point where we're on the fence about calling parents or families, we're involving the student in that conversation, and overwhelmingly the student will say, absolutely, let's call you and involve you in some of that care. It is I've been here 13 years. I think I've made 1 or 2 calls outside of a student wanting me to in that time. Overwhelmingly, it is, I'm working with the student, we need to widen the circle of support for you, let's bring some supportive family in, and overwhelmingly, family absolutely steps up in there. So again, the reassuring thing is, if it's a big deal, you're gonna get a call. Now, if it's sub-big deal, our conversation is gonna be like, hey, so for example, somebody sprains their ankle and is on their way to the emergency room to get their ankle looked at, okay? Which, by the way, is literally across the street from campus. My assumption is a lot of our students are probably still on your insurance, right? And so by extension, y'all are gonna get the bill, right? Also, I know, having gone to the emergency room with students over the years, there's 0 cell phone service in the emergency room because they got the x-ray machines in there, okay? Which means, before we're going, we're having conversations with the students, hey, just so you know, now might be a good time to give mom or dad a call, okay? Which, by the way, is a wonderful educational opportunity. They get to help and navigate that health system on their own for the first time. And let me just also, a little bit of self-disclosure, I've got an 18-year-old right now that's going away to college next year. That part scares me too, right? Like, I'm trying to figure out how my 18-year-old is gonna manage that on their own. I would also want to get that call. But really, we have people here who will help them make that call and navigate that system. And the short of it is, listen, if they are not able to make that call, we're calling you.
So there's a lot of different avenues for students who come to Willamette to participate in a sport, and one of those is athletics. Many of our athletes are recruited fairly heavily as they're going through high school if they're playing a sport based on our coaches have seen them, they've come to a camp, they've reached out to us, and that typical process is kind of, much as they're examining Willamette as an institution to further their academic pursuits, also their athletic pursuits. So the other avenue is what you're talking about. And so folks that are like, wow, I don't know that I want to continue a sport in college. I hadn't thought about it. Most of the time that comes from kind of an anxiety of there's no way I'm going to be able to do both. But what I would tell most of those students is that our student athletes actually typically do better in season because they have support, because they have structure, because they have folks looking after it. Every single one of our teams this past fall had a cumulative GPA above a 3.0. Our athletes are student athletes in that realm. So if there's someone that comes to campus and they're not quite sure, I always encourage they talk to the coach. And so I think that first step is great. Usually our coaches will connect them with student athletes because they can talk to them about their experience. I'd love to talk to folks about what it's like to be a student athlete. It's been about 30 years for me, so we'd always connect them with the folks that are actually on the ground. For anyone that comes in the fall and still isn't sure, we also there's a lot of opportunities, again, to be in a class, be in intramurals, but it always starts with being able to talk to the coach about what are the opportunities. Evaluation sometimes is challenging in that regard in terms of, being able to tell them this is where you might fit in the program. But we always want to make those opportunities available. And then there's also for folks that come, if they want to come and they're not quite sure, we have club sports that folks can participate in. We have intramurals. I always tell people that varsity athletics is pretty serious. Sometimes they're not quite sure they want to make that commitment. Clubs are kind of maybe a notch down where, they still get to play and they still get to participate, but it's not the same level of practice. It still is some competition. And then an intramurals is, hey, I just want to grab some folks in my residence hall and compete against other folks on campus. So there's always, even if it's not going to be varsity athletics, there's always an opportunity for some form of recreation if folks want to do it. So for intramurals, and Lisa can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. So for intramurals, there's seasons that kind of rotate depending on the time. One of the things that we've transitioned to in the past few years is more kind of shorter seasons. One of the things we found when we had, a 7-week 5-on-5 basketball season, at about week 3 or 4, people are like, okay, I'm ready for something else, and stop showing up for games. And so now we kind of move from, I don't know if that's an attention span thing or what, but we kind of move from sport to sport. But there's volleyball, there's badminton, there's flag football, there's 3-on-3 basketball, there's 5-on-5, there's indoor soccer. We have a swim program, we have a pool. There's no club swim team yet. There could be. It's one of the other things I say when folks ask, do you have this club? When you get here, we probably will, because our students are great at organizing that type of stuff. And then on the club sport side, it's typically, if they're competing against other institutions, it's typically kind of either fall semester or spring semester. With rugby, with women's soccer, with men's soccer, there's organized leagues, and they may practice throughout the year, but they'll usually only compete in one of the other semesters. We get questions because people will have, like, I have a friend at a Division I school where sometimes they will tell you, we're practicing 8 to 11, and if you have a class you need during that time, well, pick another major. Not here. Not here by any stretch. We have a protected practice time from 4 to 7 every day, so they're not supposed to be classes that kind of end during that time or start during that time. There's labs and different things that sometimes overlap, but so our teams know that they're going to be able to practice during that time, and they're not going to miss class. If you do have a practice at any time or a class that overlaps, you go to class. So you do not miss any academic opportunity for practice. There are occasions where folks will miss a class because we travel to competitions, but those are very infrequent. That'll be once or twice, maybe a semester, and our faculty are very good at helping students make sure they know what they're going to miss. And our students are really good at making sure that they're they take care of things usually ahead of time. Our priorities, I think, are very much in order, and athletic pursuits are not going to interfere with anything students want to do academically, including study abroad, our coaches are very supportive of what our students want to do. They know why they're here. They know they love their sport. They want to do that, but they know why they're here.
And we should say that 4 to 7 period is protected, and for faculty to offer classes during that time, they need to get an exception. So we really we think holistically about the student experience here. It is this and this. We think we have better students because we try and support them widely. The labs, there are some regular labs that happen on Wednesdays that cut into that time, but then that means there are multiple of that same lab offered at a different time. So really being intentional.
And I would also say that's not specifically just for athletics as well. That's for other curricular activities. That's also for music ensembles, and so that students have time to pursue their passions outside the classroom in that time.
We do not encourage students to declare a major until their second semester of their sophomore year. That said, many students declare much earlier than that, and that is absolutely fine. And the idea behind that is we want students to have a path forward, but we also want them to keep an open mind. Many students come in thinking they want to do one thing. They take a class and discover, aha, I never knew this passion existed. I didn't know anthropology was so fascinating, right? So we want them to have the freedom to be able to move really across our curriculum. Students can declare and switch majors as many times as they want, and they're making these decisions in a very intentional and guided way. They cannot register for classes without meeting with an academic advisor every semester. So we are really intentionally helping them to ask big questions and to think about what is their path. We believe that your students should graduate in 4 years, and so all of our advising is around getting them to graduate in 4 years. Now, in terms of balancing that with athletics, I can't think of a single major that students don't both do athletics and major in, and have been very successful.
So the outdoor program is part of our campus recreation department, and it's actually located in the same area as the first year commons. So first year students will have easy access to the office. We have a student-led program. We usually offer 2 trips on average per weekend. On a given weekend, you might see a ski trip and then a hike. Or sometimes they'll do a field trip to the Oregon Zoo. But there's a wide variety of options, and they try to do some things at the beginning of the year to introduce the outdoors to students who don't have experience camping or hiking from their family backgrounds. And so it's really a diverse range of opportunities. Sometimes we combine service with the outdoor trips as well. It's subsidized by student government. And so the average cost of the trips is usually around $5 to $10. Unless it's an overnight trip, then it's going to be a little bit more because there's accommodations involved in having to drive farther. We also have gear checkout, so students who don't have an appropriate rain jacket or they don't own a sleeping bag, they can check those out for a very cheap price as well. If you go into any of the restroom stalls on campus, you'll see a publication called The Toilet Paper, and always in the right upper corner of that publication, it'll list the upcoming outdoor program opportunities. And like I said, they just go over to the program office on the east side and sign up and pay, and they're good to go. And transportation is provided as part of the cost. So we have a relationship with Enterprise Rent-A-Car, and so we rent all of our vehicles. The students who drive the vehicles go through a training process. Obviously, they're licensed and insured. And so with the trips where there's snow involved, we go over how do you put chains on the tires and all that kind of stuff. If you have a student that's really interested in the outdoors, we do offer a Jump Start program, which is our pre-orientation program. And we have 3 different programs, and one of them is an outdoor type activity where they do some days of hiking. It's a small group. It's a nice way for students to come a little bit earlier before opening days begins, meet a smaller group of students, and in this case would be doing daily hikes, doing some bonding activities like campfires and things like that. We also have a community service program, and then also one for multicultural students.
We have a 2-year live-on requirement, so all first and second year students need to live on campus. As you know, the first year students all live in the first year commons, which is on that side of campus, over by the Montag Den. Second year, they tend to disperse a little bit more.
I've always heard that about 70% of our students
Of total
live
students.
on campus.
Right,
total.
right. So probably about 25%. We also have Greek houses. We have a few sororities on campus that are also options. We have apartment styles. So there's lots of options for students to live on campus. For those that do live off campus, there's apartments around the edges of campus and whatnot that students opt into at times.
And a number of our juniors, particularly juniors, study abroad. So we've got several, I don't know what percentage is now, 40% or so, study abroad during their junior year as well. Yeah, we have several work-study opportunities from across campus. So some of them are, subject areas, so students can be teaching assistants in the laboratories. We should say at a school like Willamette, they are not teaching, they are assisting the faculty who are in there teaching the labs. But we see this as a professional development opportunity for them as well. I'll let everyone else talk about some, but we have something called Handshake. So anytime there is campus employment both on and off campus, but these are opportunities for students to see what types of jobs they might get on campus. And whenever possible, I think we try and help them to think about ways that will help them develop professionally and to use those experiences no matter what they're doing, to think about how is this a transferable skill.
We're a pretty large employer of students in the admission office. And I will echo what Sarah is saying. When we think about students working in our office, we are thinking about how we are educating them about professional experiences. So with our ambassador team, they are doing things like leading tours and welcoming guests, but our front desk is completely staffed by students, meaning they have to learn how to have professional phone skills. They have to learn how to transfer a call, which with the cell phone culture, they haven't had to learn just yet. But also we have a student communications team that runs our entire online presence on Instagram and things like that. And so they're having to learn how to transition from having personal social media accounts to what it means to create a brand and story tell through social media. And we've got many students on that team that are civic communication and media students. So what they're learning in the classroom, they're directly applying to also the work study type work that they're doing in the office.
One of the questions that we get a lot is, how does my student find a job initially when they get on campus? And so we offer kind of a mini job fair for some of the larger employees, like the library and campus rec and athletics. We will do an old school job fair where we'll put it in the orientation program and broadcast it widely, but the students will be able to go around and talk to potential employers and learn more about the jobs. But one of the things that's great is we just have such a wide variety of jobs. It's really what the student wants to do. Some of them want to check out books in the library, and some of them want to be part of a social media campaign, and some of them want to be involved with game management or be an intramural referee. So it just depends on what the student wants to do, how much time they have, but there's a wide variety, and some students hold more than one job.
And we will say, whenever possible, we really encourage students to find their employment on campus rather than off campus. We do have students that work off campus. We find the jobs on campus. We're very intentional about thinking about how their experiences fit in with their educational experience. So if your student needs to work, and several of our students do, we really work with them to try and find employment here.
During the week, so Monday through Friday, it is a credit system for both breakfast and lunch, and dinner is all you care to eat. On the weekend, that flips. So the brunches on Saturday and Sunday are all you care to eat, and then I believe dinners, where they found that people typically aren't coming to dinner on Saturday and Sunday, so that's a credit system for those dates. There are different plans. I believe there's 5 different plans that you can buy into that give you a certain amount of credits. I don't know what those are, but I know those are available in our on our website. But yeah, yes, it's a combination plan.
Yes, we have a bus system that runs you'll notice we're obviously just abreast of downtown, and that's where the hub of all the buses. So you can get around Salem pretty easily on the public bus system. Very significant bike culture in town. We've got just countless opportunities within biking distance that are remarkably cool. The Willamette River literally is like 6 blocks that direction. We have what's called Minto Brown Park, which is several thousand acres of biking and hiking trails that is really popular with students, and you can bike there from here. Oh, and we have a bike shop on campus too, where students can get their bikes fixed. We have loaner bikes. That is all free to students.
We are right across the street from the train station, and so there's also public transportation if folks want to go to Portland or Eugene or in the surrounding area, they can do that as well. We have Uber and Lyft as well, which many students use, and they can rent cars from the enterprise. We actually would love it if fewer first years brought their cars to campus, to be honest, just because parking is always challenging, but also when first year students bring their cars, everyone finds the person who has the car to go shopping and this and that.
It is optional. You can opt out. You do not have to take the university health insurance. It is really important that you all hear this, though. It is an automatic opt-in. You have to opt out, and we have about a 2-month waiver period. All of those emails are going to your student. Let that sink in for a minute. So there are some knowing nods. We will send some reminders to parents and families, not that, hey, your student hasn't responded, but, hey, another reminder was sent to all students. So nudge, nudge, tell your student to check their email. It is, so you can opt out of the health insurance. Where it becomes handy, and we have no horse in this race, so there's no gain to the health center around this. What we're finding is a lot of our students are coming from other areas, and a lot of those students are on HMOs. And so the out-of-network becomes a problem. So our health insurance is year-round, so even though it's the academic year, it covers year-round. It is a national plan. Next year, we're looking at a $300 deductible, and I think $1,500 out of pocket. Like, it's a good plan. You don't have to buy it, okay? But know that is an option. And just one plug, please, no matter where your students end up, and of course we really hope they end up here, oh my goodness, please check their email. So much good things happen on email that are missed. So please encourage them to check their email.
There's summer internships, but we also have a lot of students that go and do summer research and get grant funding, either to do research here or even to do it at another school or in an on-location type research opportunity.
If you were here when we first started, I talked about the 4th hour. One of the things we do in the 4th hour is every single first-year student gets contact with career services. They come in and talk about the resources that are available. We want them to be meeting with career services starting semester 1, because we have so many resources available to them. One of the things we have are career communities. If students think I might be interested in this type of field, they can go and see what sorts of majors, who are alumni we have in that area, just to get them already thinking about the types of decisions and classes they might want to take, experiences they might want to have. Our career services does both drop-in and appointments, and they will help students identify, what might be good areas for them. In addition to that, so I'm a chemistry faculty, and I run our STEM program. So I'm constantly sending emails out to our STEM students to say, here are these opportunities that you might want to take advantage of. So as and this is not just STEM, this is other faculty and other departments as well, we'll send out opportunities to students as we're alerted to them. In addition to that, we have several programs on campus in terms of research that happens over the summer. We have Shuck It, which is for arts. So it's studio arts, the music, theater. We have the LARC for our humanities-based students, and we have SCRP, which is our Science Collaborative Research Program for students in the sciences. These are paid summer internships to work, mentored work with faculty to do scholarship on campus. Again, in the sciences, we're incredibly competitive for REUs, research experiences for undergraduates that happen across the United States. REUs require that 50% of the students be from off campus. So we work really closely with our students to prepare competitive applications so they may go do a research experience in New York. And so there's those opportunities as well. We have a great relationship with the Capitol. There's internships over there. So basically, I would say this is happening again in a very holistic way. We've got career services generally working with students, and then we have faculty within departments thinking specifically about students and opportunities. And then our alumni network as well. So career services works with our alumni network to help partner students to, maybe it's an informational job interview, maybe it's actually working. So we're really thinking holistically about that as well. We have students who want to go work for nonprofit organizations and do an internship, but they also need to be paid financially because they need compensation over the summer. So our career services also has a set of essentially funds or scholarships students can apply for so that they can do work at like a nonprofit institution that's not going to pay them, but they can still get paid to do so. So we're really thinking about making sure our students, really that we're expanding access to as many students as possible so they can get these enriching experiences, whether they're paid or not. Our career services also does a great thing that if faculty need to be traveling to a conference and have to be gone, they have essentially don't cancel this class. So they will come in and actually work with entire classes as well on these sorts of things. I run a STEM program, so I have career services come in and talk about when you're looking for a job, how do you make sure that your values are aligned well with the place that you are thinking of working for? So they do that level as well, but we've also had them work on resume writing, on personal statement writing. We do mock interviews. In addition, I'm on the pre-health group, so students who are applying for medical schools, we'll do mock interviews with them, both while they're students and also post-grad, if they're looking at coming back. The great thing about technology now and Zoom and such is that we can do this even with students who can't be on campus.
So one thing I would add, and it keeps popping up, is you're asking questions about the services we have and the services we provide. I've been to a lot of schools like Willamette. I don't think I've ever, and I know I've never been at one that has more thoughtful services that are student-led and faculty-led and department-led that help our students navigate campus, the world, everything. What we don't do is we don't grab them physically and make them come to us all the time. I'm not encouraging you to do that, but I'm just saying when they get here and they call and they say, you know, I'm going to apply for this job, but I just don't know what to do with my resume, you know, they have a career center, you should go. You know, they have an academics, you know, they have a support center, you should go. They have we have it. We try during opening days and the first year experience to let them know we have it, but they still don't always come. So that would be my advice. You know, if your student calls and says, I'm struggling with something or I have questions about something, there are folks here, just give them a gentle nudge in the right direction.
I want to thank everyone who joined us today for this panel.